Welcome to the Explainer. There's nothing more frustrating for a parent than when something happens to your kid at school and you just hit a brick wall of silence. Today, we're going to crack that code. We're turning that bureaucratic runaround into a simple, step-by-step plan you can actually use.
So, let's dive into a story that, honestly, happens way too often. If you're a parent, this might sound painfully familiar.
Okay, picture this. Your kid, a 10th grader, gets assaulted in the school cafeteria. Just like that, the one place you trust to be safe isn't, and you're left scrambling, just trying to figure out what on earth happened.
So what do? Exactly what any of us would do, right? You send an email to the principal. You're not asking for the moon, you just want the basics. Any reports, statements from witnesses, the video footage. You just want to know the truth.
And this is the email you get back. The classic, we cannot provide that due to student privacy laws. It's vague, it's dismissive, and it's basically the school's go-to move to shut down the conversation and make you feel totally powerless.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's only after the family has to go out, hire a lawyer, and file an actual lawsuit that the truth finally spills out. And what do they find? The school had everything. A 15-page investigation, 5 witness statements, video of the whole thing. They had a mountain of evidence they were actively, deliberately hiding. This wasn't some simple mistake, it was a strategy.
So this is where you get your power back. It brings us to the most important tool in your arsenal, a federal law called FERPA. And trust me, knowing how to use this law is the absolute key to prying open those locked doors.
Okay, so what is FERPA exactly? Well, the long name is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. But all you need to know is this. It's a federal law that gives you, the parent, the right to inspect and review all of the educational records a school has about your kid. It's not a suggestion, it's the law.
And you might be surprised by what counts as an educational record. We're not just talking about grades here. We're talking incident reports, investigation files, disciplinary records, even emails between staff about your child. If it's about your kid and the school has it, it's almost certainly an educational record you have a right to see. A list is huge.
Okay, so if this law is so powerful, how do schools try to wiggle out of it? Let's break down their common deflections, because once you know their playbook, you can counter every move.
The number one excuse you're going to hear is student privacy. But here's the crazy part. They're using the name of the very law that gives you rights against you. FERPA is meant to protect your kids' records from, the general public, not from you, the parent. The law is crystal clear on this.
And this is the absolute key you need to remember. Protecting another student's privacy does not mean they can hide the whole document from you. Nope. All it means is they have to take a black marker, or, the digital version, and redact the other kids' names. That's it. They still have to give you the rest of the report.
This leads to a really important distinction, especially for something like video footage. You got to wear 2 different legal hats here. The incident report about your kid, that's a FERPA record. But the security camera footage of the whole cafeteria, that's probably not, because it shows dozens of other kids. To get your hands on that, you'll probably need to make a totally separate request using your state's public records law. So remember that. 2 different laws, 2 different requests. It's a game changer.
Okay, so you know your rights now, but knowing them is one thing, enforcing them is another. So let's get tactical. Here is your 4-step action plan to get what you're legally owed.
It's really this simple. 4 steps. 1. A written FERPA request. 2. A separate public records request for video. 3. You document everything. And 4. You look closely at what they give you and, more importantly, what they don't.
All right, step 1. Your request has to be in writing. And you've got to use the magic words. Seriously. By citing the actual federal law, you can see it right there. You're sending a very clear signal. This isn't just a casual email from a concerned parent. This is a formal, legal demand, and you're letting them know that you know they have to respond.
Now, step 3 is, it's completely non-negotiable. You have to create a documentation log, something just like this. Every single interaction, every email you send, every phone call, every time they say we're working on it, it all gets an entry with a date. This isn't just for your own notes anymore. This is your evidence. This is how you prove they're dragging their feet.
And here's a number I want you to burn into your brain. 45. Under federal law, the school has 45 days. That's their deadline to respond to your FERPA request. If they go past that, it's not just them being slow. It's an actual violation of federal law. And you better believe that goes right into your log.
So why are we doing all this? Why is all this paperwork so critical?
It's because this whole process is about one thing in the end: accountability. Think about it. Without these records, if you go to the school board, what do you have? You have your story, it's your word against theirs. It's powerful, sure, but they can dismiss it as just, he said, she said.
But imagine walking into that same meeting and putting a stack of papers on the table, their own internal reports, their emails, their investigation file. Suddenly, your story isn't a story anymore. It's proof, undeniable proof, written in their own words. Because what these records do is prove all the key things. They prove the school knew there was a problem. They prove the harm was predictable. They prove the school failed to step in. And they prove that the school's inaction is what made things worse. You're not just talking about one incident anymore. You're showing a pattern of failure.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important point. Sometimes, the school's refusal to give you the records is the biggest piece of evidence you have. It is a giant red flag, because you have to ask yourself this powerful question. If a school is willing to ignore federal law to hide these papers from you, what on earth is in them that they're so desperate to keep you from seeing?